Welcome to another video on the topic of creating online survey experiments. In this video, I will show how you can copy an existing experiment using an online survey called GitHub. So you can copy the outline of an experiment and then modify it and customize it to your own needs. And this is a way to get up and running with experimental studies a little bit faster. To follow along in this tutorial, you will need to have access to a Google Drive with the Google Forms app and so on. And you will also need to have access to a free GitHub account. So GitHub looks like this. It's an online service that is meant to help in code development and version control. So it has a lot of functionality, but it also has the ability to host online survey experiments. So I will show you a little part of all the functionality that is contained inside GitHub. So if you go to github.com, you can create this free personal account, and then you can continue on from that point. So when you have your GitHub account created, there is not really much in here. It's quite empty right now. And in order to copy the existing experiment, we need to click the search button and go to this existing GitHub repo that I have already created. So you will find a link to this online experiment in the video description below. So now I am at another GitHub account where I can look at this online experiment. So it's called Open Science Methods, and particularly about running experiments. And these are the files that exist in the repo, and we will copy this repository to our own. So to do that, we use this fork button up here. So fork, I guess, is GitHub's terminology for copying this all these files to my own repository. So you can go ahead and click this. And then GitHub asks us to create a new fork. We can give this fork a new name if we want, or we can just leave it as it is, which is what I will do here. And basically, we can just go ahead and create the fork, which will copy the existing experiment files to our own repo. So that went pretty quickly. And if we look at the top left corner, you should see your own username up here. And then we have the rest of this path is the new repo that we have just copied. So now I own all these files and I can edit them and modify them and customize them to my own need. So if we scroll through these files, we can see that we have a number of different directories here. And we can see that we also have this README file, which will show us the content that is appearing below here. So first of all, we will need to use this web hosting functionality that is provided by GitHub. So in order to do this for this repository, the experiment repository, we need to click this settings button. And if we scroll down and look at the left-hand menu, there is an option called Pages. And by activating Pages on this repo, we will be able to create basically a website out of the files contained in the repository. So this is also pretty easy to set up. The only thing you need to do here is to go down to this heading called branch. Right now it says none here, and we need to change this to main and save. Nothing more is needed. So there's a lot of things going on under the hood here, and I won't really go into everything. I will just show the clicks and navigation that is needed to get this sample experiment up and running. So up until now, we have forked an existing repository to our own GitHub account, and then we have activated GitHub Pages on this new repo. So let's go back and have a look at the actual files. So when we run this experiment, it will run from a directory that is called web. And inside this directory, there is another directory called TJS. And inside this directory, we have a bunch of HTML files. So these files are going to be what is shown in our web app, our experiment web app. So we have an index file. So this will basically randomize each visitor to our web app to 2 different conditions. And these conditions are contained inside condition A.html and condition B.html. As you can see, there are more conditions here. So if you want to have multiple conditions, this sample experiment will support that. But for this short tutorial, I will only show you basically an A/B test. So in condition A, we can think about this as the control condition, and we can think about the next HTML file as the treatment condition. So, as you know, when we create a survey experiment, we need to have some kind of online survey. And for this example, I will show you some surveys from Google Drive. And the survey looks like this. I won't go into all the details of creating a survey right now, but this is a survey that basically shows us a banner advert for some phones, some mobile phones, and a rating scale. And we can have a look at another condition. So since this is an A-B experiment, we have two different conditions. And in the second condition, the form looks a little bit different. We have added a human face, and maybe we expect that consumers will rate this a little bit more positively. We don't need to go into all that right now. What I will show you, if we go back to this first form, is that we will need to embed these Google Forms into our experiment repository. And in order to do that, I need to use this send button up here. And then I click these tag symbols. So this will allow me to embed the form into a website. And what I'm interested in here is this long iframe tag. So we don't really need to consider all of the parts in this HTML tag. We can just go ahead and copy it. So this will allow me to present or embed this survey in my new experiment. So let's go back to GitHub. And now we can click this condition a.html. So this is my control condition. And if I open it up, I can look at the HTML code. Again, I won't go into all the details here, but if we go down to this part, we can see that we have this iframe tag. So I will replace this with my own iframe tag. By hitting this, clicking this edit button. So as you can see, GitHub will also allow me to edit these files inside my web browser, which is pretty convenient. So let me go in here and hit edit. And I will paste my new Google form to embed here. And in this case, I will actually use the existing Google form to show the results of this. But in your case, you will of course have your own Google form here. And as you probably know, you can also connect your Google form to a Google Sheet. So you collect responses inside your Google Drive. So let's say that we have changed this iframe tag, so it contains our own form. And the only thing I need to do now is to save this document. So if I want to save this. I guess the save button is hiding somewhere where I can't see it right now. So there we are. We have this is basically a save button. It says commit changes. So I will now, by using this commit changes button, I will save the new embedded form here. And when I hit this button, as GitHub works, it always wants to include a commit message to describe what has happened with the file when I changed it. So we can leave this as it is. So we have updated basically the control condition, or this condition a.html file, with a new form. And then we can go ahead and commit these changes. So you don't need to change anything here, basically. You can just click commit changes. And now, if we go back to the start of this repository, we have our files here. We have gone into this web directory and we have updated an HTML file. In your case, you would need to update both the, of course, both the control condition and the treatment condition with your own Google Forms. So if we want to see the result of our changes, there is actually only one more thing that remains, and that has to do with the link, the URL to our experiment. So in order to create this link, we need to edit the first link here that says Google Forms. So here it is important to remember your own username on GitHub. In my case, I have this cryptic CCA-CCE as my username. So I need to copy that. I need to have that. And then I will go into this README file and edit it. So what we are focusing on is actually this link over here. And this will be the link to your own experiment with your own Google Forms. But right now it's pointing to the original GitHub repo. So you need to change this username to your own. So again, in my case, I edit this long URL and I just replace the username with this CCA-CCE. And this is going to be different for your GitHub repos, of course, because you will have chosen some unique username that only you have access to. But this is how you create the experiment link, the experiment URL. So again, we will use this commit changes button to save this out. And if I click it, it just says update readme. That's okay. I don't need any more information. So I'll just click again, commit changes. And now if we hover with the mouse over this link, you can probably maybe see that now the link is pointing to our own repository, and then it says GitHub, and then it says .io. And then we have this, the name of the repo, and then we have the path to the HTML files that we have been working with. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we click this now. So if everything went okay, you should get an experiment link that looks like this. So we have the username, we have github.io, and then the repo, and then the path to the HTML files. And as you can see right now, this is only some sample text that you are supposed to edit for your own experiment. So, of course, you would take this information that is in the index.html, and you would provide some meaningful information to your participants before they enroll in your experiment. Similarly, it says right now condition A. So this is the randomization part, such that each participant is randomly assigned the A or B condition. And this is not something you would usually show to your participants. They should ideally be unaware that they are in fact partaking in an experiment and that they are in one or the other experimental group. So this is something you should delete in the index.html before you actually run the experiment. So, but let's see what happens if I, as a participant, would now run this experiment. I would start by clicking the button. And in this case, I came to the control condition, survey A, and I could provide a rating. And I would, if I completed this form, I would send it, and it would end up in my Google Drive, in a Google Sheet. If we go back and reload this a couple of times, we would probably sooner or later come to condition B. And if I would start, let's say I'm a new participant, another participant, I would end up with the condition B, and I would again rate the advert and the product being advertised, and then I would send it in. So that was a short tutorial about how you can use Google Drive, Google Forms, and GitHub, and specifically the GitHub web hosting functionality to quickly copy an existing experiment, modify it to your own need, and run it and collect some experimental data.